Hello and welcome to this week's reading vlog. This week I have several books on the go from last week which I want to continue and hopefully bring through some of the reading productivity that I had last week while I was on holiday. I think it was my best reading week so far this year and I was so pleased with my productivity, as I said. But the two that I'm carrying forward, I will get for you here, are firstly The Fires of Heaven by Robert Jordan, which I'm about, oh my bookmark's fallen out but you can see where it was, nearly halfway through. And also Six Tudor Queens by Alison Weir, the second book, the Anne Boleyn book. I am partway through as well. I'm about a third of the way through that one. I am also listening to this one on audiobook, so I can switch between the two formats depending what availability I have. So I have those two to finish this week, and also I would like to read one of my mood read prompts, and I think, as I said in my video with going through the different prompts and playing Bookopoly, I think I want to read The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien. This is always one of my favourite books to read at this time of year, as I said in that video as well, because the book actually starts in September. The 22nd of September, which is this Wednesday, is Bilbo's birthday, Bilbo being one of our main characters in this book. So those are on the list for this week. I'm very excited to read all of those and hopefully to make a little bit more progress with some other books as well. I have another mood read prompt to fulfill, which I may potentially read another middle grade carrying on a series that I've been in the middle of so far. I might pick something else up, maybe another middle grade, maybe something else entirely, I don't know. I think it will probably be either a middle grade or a shorter book because of the number of pages I physically have left to read. All of the books I have left seem to be huge. So those are the ones so far on the agenda. If I get to anything else, that will be a bonus. Then that will leave me, I think, with 2 or 3 books left, which is still a bit of a stretch. I'm still going to struggle to get through all of those, but one thing at a time. We'll make some progress with these and we'll see where we are. So I'm going to head out into the garden, I think. It's a lovely sunny evening, actually. You can't really tell because all you can see is my library and the lights behind me, but it is a very nice evening, albeit with the sun going down now. So I might get half an hour or so sitting outside. And I think I'll carry on with The Fires of Heaven first. I'm in a fantasy mood. I'd started Anne Boleyn yesterday as just a bit of a break because I'd just finished an audiobook of a fantasy and I didn't want to jump straight into another fantasy, but I think I'm back in the fantasy mood now. So The Fires of Heaven it is. I will update you again a bit later when I have some more thoughts on this book. Hello, just a quick update to let you know I have finished reading The Fires of Heaven by Robert Jordan. This was the 5th book in the Wheel of Time series. I've been reading it over the last week and a half-ish. I started it on holiday and have read it consistently throughout this week and I'm now complete and very happy to say that it was a really good book. It was a solid continuation of the series, very much enjoyed the plot development that we had, the character development. It was a fairly chunky book, as you can see. So quite a lot happened in this one and quite a lot more escalations in the tension in the story. There's a lot of development with the characters, a lot of just kind of basically just ramping up events. You feel like you're really established in this series now. It's a very, very long series. I think there's 15 books in this series. So we're still kind of early stages in the long scheme of things, but in terms of comparing this to the beginning of the series, it really feels like we've come a very long way. The characters have developed a lot, and once again you're seeing a lot of changes in relationships between the characters. They're growing up and they're discovering their new place in the world and their new talents, and I just really enjoyed this one. I don't know why more this one than the previous one, but I felt like a lot more happened in this one and we're seeing a lot of, again, changes of dynamic between the characters. So very exciting stuff. And I look forward to picking up the next one next month, as has been my usual process. I've been trying to read one of these about monthly throughout the year. It will take me quite some time to get through the entire series, but another solid one. This was a 4 out of 5 stars, this one. I don't think I've given any of these 5 yet. I'm not sure. Maybe the first one actually, but I don't think since then I have. But they're very standard fantasy reads for me. Very much enjoyable. I love the world, I love the magic. It's all just a nice, comforting read essentially. So looking forward to picking up another one of these in October. So I still have a fair bit to read this week. I want to finish off the Anne Boleyn book. I want to pick up my mood read, which I think is going to be Fellowship of the Ring. I'm very excited to get into that one and have a lovely cosy evening at some point reading that one. Now I've finished one fantasy, I can pick up another. And I have also decided to pick up an extra book. Now I don't need anything else on my TBR, but nevertheless, here we are. I didn't have a book that fitted the last magical readathon prompt, so I've decided to pick up The Mystery of Black Hollow Lane, which I will show a picture of here. This is a middle grade story which follows a young girl from America who goes to boarding school in England and the adventures she has there. Basically, there's a mystery involving some sort of secret society, and as well as a personal mystery regarding her father, who was from England and I think went to this boarding school. You get the usual sort of school dynamic paired with a darker sort of mysterious storyline, which I'm really excited to jump into. I've had this one recommended by Jade from JD Ray Reads, so I think it's going to be quite a fun one, and I think it has the potential to be a favourite middle grade for me. So that one is going to be an extra book for me because I needed something that fit the mystery or thriller prompt for Magical Readathon, or the standalone prompt, depending which way I mix things around. I needed one of them basically for Home Before Dark, which I've already got on my Bookopolis TBR, and then an extra to fit the other prompt. So Mystery of Black Hollow Lane will be whichever one I don't use for Home Before Dark, if that makes sense. Hello, so I have good and slightly surprising news to update you with. I have already finished reading The Mystery of Black Hollow Lane by Julia Noble. I started reading this at work on my phone on Scribd earlier on today and was really enjoying it, so came home and thought I'll read a little bit more, just a few more chapters, and I've ended up reading the entire book this evening. So you can tell I really enjoyed this one. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 stars, which is about the highest I ever give a middle grade. I can't remember having ever given one 5 stars. They just don't tend to fit that criteria for me. But this was about as good as a middle grade gets in my book. I really liked the story. I got quite a lot of Harry Potter vibes from this, and that's not a bad thing in the fact that it was copying it, but just the general themes of the story. So 3 friends at a boarding school, lots of mystery, you know, mysterious professors and interesting lessons and some kind of family mystery to be solving, lots of kind of underlying sections to the plot. It just felt very much reminiscent of when I read the Harry Potter books for the first time, which I absolutely loved, by the way, as a middle grade target audience. It was very much my kind of story, so this brought back a lot of that nostalgia for me, but with obviously a very different story and some really enjoyable characters. I absolutely loved Lola, the kind of one of the 2 best friends that our main character Emmy makes. She was just brilliant, and I just thought the general description of the atmosphere was very believable, and the characters behaved very much as I would expect for characters of their age and of their kind of backgrounds, so it was really relatable to childhood me, I guess. And I would absolutely have loved this as the target audience, but really enjoyed it as an adult too. I think it's actually going to be the first in a series, so I very much look forward to reading more from this author and from this series to see what happens with these characters and how the mystery is actually solved. But a very good 4-star read for me, really enjoyable, and considering it was an extra on my TBR for this month, I'm very pleased I managed to get through it because it ended up being one of the best ones I've read. So that is another prompt ticked off for the Magical Readathon. As I said, I'm not entirely sure which of the 2 this is going to go for, whether it's going to be the mystery thriller or whether it will be a standalone. Actually saying that, it can't be a standalone, can it, if it's the first in a series? Yeah, I didn't realise that at the time. So this will be a mystery thriller and the standalone will be Home Before Dark. So that's that cleared up. So I will carry on reading the rest of my TBR after having a slight little blip there, but I'm very pleased to have fitted in one more that I really enjoyed, and it's also a nice little teaser for spooky season that's to come. It was a Halloween-ish type book, being a cosy mystery, having the sort of magical, mysterious background vibes. So really enjoyed that one, and I'm glad to have got through it very quickly. Hello, so an update. I have been listening to and reading physically the Anne Boleyn book in the 6 Tudor Queens series by Alison Weir, and I have finished that one last night. I wasn't the most impressed with this book, I have to say. It was okay. It wasn't a bad book by any stretch. It was very historically informative. It was full of a lot of drama, but just the structure and the plot was just not quite as gripping as I hoped it would be. And considering it got off to a really good start, and I loved the first few hours of the audiobook that I listened to, it had a bit of a lull in the middle, and too much of it I just was a little bit disinterested in, unfortunately. So the start of the book happened just during Anne's childhood, so you see her introduction to the political world and her upbringing, her lessons around court, and all of her kind of youth and her growth into the Queen that we know from history. That part I really enjoyed. That was very new to me, and similarly with the previous book, the Catherine of Aragon story, I really liked hearing about Catherine's youth as well. because it is a new story, and it's nice to get to know those characters as people rather than just historical figures. So those parts I enjoyed, but as soon as they get to the court and they get to the being the queen or being involved with the king in some way, it just all becomes a bit boring. It's a bit too contemporary for me, which is not a slight against contemporaries at all, but I personally don't read them. I don't find that kind of story interesting. So just hearing a constant stream of gossip and, oh, this person's got married to this one and this person's having an affair with somebody else and this person's pregnant constantly, I just don't care about that kind of thing. Honestly, I'm just not interested. So a large bulk of the story I actually found quite dull, and consequently read very, very quickly, and that's why I've finished the book, because I didn't skim read exactly, but I didn't focus on every single word as I would do if I was really rooted into the story. The ending did pick up. It was obviously the most high drama part of the story. If you know anything about the history of Anne Boleyn, you will know what that entails. It was quite emotional, actually, and quite horrible to read in some places. It's a really nasty series of events that happens, and you do feel very sorry for Anne and for some of the other characters involved as well. But again, that wasn't exactly pleasurable to read because it's so disturbing. It was more enjoyable for me personally because the plot was better, but you know then that you're kind of spiralling towards the end, and already knowing the outcome takes away a lot of the intrigue and that usual sense of foreboding of thinking, is this going to happen? Is this dire consequence actually going to come through, or will somebody be saved? You already know the answer to that because you know the history, if you're like me. So it wasn't the most exciting book overall. Started well, but a little disappointing. I'm going to give it 3 out of 5 stars. As I say, a very well written book. I like Alison Weir's writing style. I think she obviously very much researches the history and is very accurate with what she's portraying, even though certain aspects of the story are contentious historically. We're not exactly sure on what happened or on people's motivations. The way she tells the story is very sensitive, that you can imagine it is true, or if not, then it's not far from the truth. But yeah, just not overall a particular win for me. But never mind, it's another one ticked off the TBR. So I now have to start this evening reading Fellowship of the Ring, which I'm very excited about. That was one of my mood read picks. I love to read that series around this time of year. Lord of the Rings is a very autumnal pick for me. Very comforting, cosy reads, one of the first fantasy series I ever read, and absolutely made me fall in love with the genre. So I'm very excited to read that. I'm going to just have a nice cosy evening, I think, and light some candles, get some blankets and some tea, and, you know, just have a real ambience. I might even read in the bath, who knows? So that's the plan for this evening. I will try and get through both those fantasy books the rest of this week and see if I have time to pick anything else up. I might maybe squeeze one more in over the weekend, who knows? But still making good progress. We're still doing well. It's still a lot to read, but fingers crossed things will continue to do well. So I will catch you a little later when I'm having my cosy evening. Hello, so it is Sunday morning and I'm just doing a little update on how I'm getting on so far with my reading and on my day yesterday. So I managed to finish off yet another book yesterday, start and finish actually. I don't have it in physical copy with me anymore as I've returned it to my friend who I met up with yesterday, who I've borrowed several of the books I've read this month from. So I completed Warrior Bronze, the last book in the Gods and Warriors series by Michelle Paver, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a lovely conclusion to the story. It brought us back to the beginning, to the places and the people that we'd seen and the reason for going on this long quest with our main characters in the first place, and it was a very satisfying ending. It is a middle grade series, I sort of expected it to be. But yeah, a lovely ending to the story and lovely to be back in some familiar territory and to feel like the whole thing wrapped up very smoothly. I think it was probably quite a tactful way to end the story as well, because you weren't quite sure how they were going to get around it at one point in a middle grade appropriate way, but it turned out to be just that, so I was very pleased to finish. So another 3-star. The whole series has been so, but considering I never give 5 stars to middle grades anyway, that is more than appropriate. I'm so sorry, my hair is an absolute mess today, but I will sort it soon. Anyway, so I had a lovely day out yesterday in Bath with the said friend, and did actually visit an awful lot of bookshops, so I have a little mini haul to do with you in just a moment. We had a really nice day there, did a lot of touristy things because I hadn't actually visited Bath for a number of years, so we went around the Roman baths, which you'll have seen some footage of, did a lot of shopping as well, went out for a nice meal in the evening and a couple of coffee stops as well, so it was just a lovely day and I'm really happy to be able to get back into doing things like that again. You know, we've had so long of lockdowns and everything else, so it's fun to actually be able to have a proper day out in the city. And Bath is such a beautiful area of the country, I really, really like it, so it was a fun one. So in terms of bookshops, we went to, I think, 3 bookshops. So I just wanted to very quickly show you a little haul of the books that I got on my trip yesterday. I was trying to tell you about these earlier, but my battery died, I got cut off. So we have a nice sizable little stack there. So first things first, we have just a tiny little book which I bought at possibly my favourite of the 3 bookshops that we visited. It was a place called Toppings and it was a really, really cute independent bookshop. Really lovely full wooden stacks throughout the shop, ladders up some of the bookcases. It was a really beautiful, aesthetically pleasing place, and among other things they have lots of signed first edition hardback books. A few that I really got excited about was one of the illustrated edition of Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb, also Rhythm of War by Brandon Sanderson, which I really wanted to buy but couldn't, of course, justify buying that one. And also The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, a new beautiful hardback edition, which I actually read the first couple of chapters of and really enjoyed reading, so that's definitely being pushed up my TBR for the next month or 2. I really loved what I read at the start of that book. I didn't buy any of those. As I said, I couldn't really justify buying any of them, but I did buy this very cute little book which is just called Poisonous Plants, and it's quite humorous in a way, but basically just goes through, you can see some illustrations and things of lots of different plants you find in Britain which are poisonous, and it gives you a little rundown of kind of the poisons that they use to make and antidotes and things like that. It sounds like a very dry subject for most people, but I am kind of interested in this sort of thing, and I read a lot of murder mysteries which involve poisons, so it's kind of a niche area of interest and just something that I thought I could pick up as a memory of that beautiful bookshop. The next ones I got, the next 3 that I got were from actually a second-hand bookstall in one of the markets in Bath. And I always am on the hunt when I'm at second-hand bookstores for Agatha Christie books, because I used to collect, and still do, but they're hard to get hold of, the small paperback editions. These covers went out of print and then were reprinted, but in full-size books. So you can see next to a normal paperback, they're a little bit shorter. And I collect these, I want them all as a matching set on my shelf, so I found 2 that I haven't already got. So it's The Mysterious Affair at Styles and The Mystery of the Blue Train, both Hercule Poirot books, both which I think I've read before. I've definitely read Styles. I might not have read The Blue Train, but I've definitely seen the adaptation of it and I know the story. But anyway, just to add to my ongoing collection, I may read one or other of these soon, I may not, but regardless, they're a welcome addition to my collection. And the other book which I picked up, which you can see here, is The Witchwood Crown by Tad Williams. This is the start of a second series by Tad Williams, following on from his initial quartet of books, which I've forgotten the name of the series, but it starts with the Dragon Bone Chair, I believe. I can actually see them in my library. So it's the Dragon Bone Chair, the Stone of Farewell, and then to Green Angel Tower, Siege, and Storm. It's a kind of 90s era fantasy series, which I read ages ago when I first was getting into adult fantasy and borrowed them from my library. I do own them though, as you could see, and I'm very excited to get back into the series in this second instalment and see if we're still following the same characters, what's changed in the world, what the new story arc is going to be. I know nothing about this, I just know it was released a few years ago and it's been on my kind of vague TBR to get to at some point. It's quite a chunky book though, so I don't think I'll be reading it anytime soon, but it's in brand new condition and was only £3.50, so I wasn't going to pass this one up. And then the final book I have that I bought yesterday was the paperback of Piranesi by Susanna Clarke, which I've been looking out for ages and is finally in print. And I absolutely loved this book when I read it last year. I read it when it was first released as the audiobook and absolutely loved it, so I was waiting for the paperback to be released before I picked it up. This copy is absolutely gorgeous. It's very similar to the hardback, but it has this kind of fade to blue on the front cover rather than just the full black, which I think I actually prefer, and gorgeous gold foiling as well. So I might actually try and reread this at some point this month because I absolutely love the story. If you haven't read Piranesi, please give it a try. It's really incredible. Very weird, but really good. And then the last book I have to show you, I didn't actually buy yesterday, but it arrived yesterday, so I'm counting it in this haul. And that is this absolutely stunning edition of the Iliad and the Odyssey by Homer. This is one of the Barnes & Noble leather-bound editions with the gold foiled pages and these gorgeous end papers you can see here. And this is just a stunning book. It's very, very bright in the sun here today, but I've been meaning to pick this up for ages. I really, really want to read more Greek mythology, and I know a lot of books are based on this period of Greek myth history, so I really wanted to read the original works, and I'm trying to collect some more of these beautiful editions. I already have a gorgeous version of William Shakespeare's works, which I can show you actually. I have to hand here. You might have seen this in the background of some of my videos already, but again, another absolutely beautiful book. And I've also ordered, which hasn't yet arrived, the Arabian Nights bind-up as well in this same series, which is a beautiful blue colour, so I'll be sure to show you that one when that one arrives. But anyway, quick update, I'm dashing to go out, so I didn't have very much time, but I just wanted to squeeze in that little chat. They're all the books I've bought very recently, and I will update you again later with a wrap-up of this week's vlog. Look at that, did it in one. It's always so satisfying. And here we have I Spy Gold Edges. Look at that. We have the other Barnes & Noble leather-bound beauty that I'd ordered, which is the collected Arabian Nights stories. I think that pattern might be actually one of my favourites. That is just stunning. Just look at that. They're so pretty, these editions. I absolutely love them. So now we have that one. I'm going to take the plastic off. Put the three of them together to show you. So if we look inside, ooh, those are pretty. Look at those gorgeous end papers. We have, ooh, gosh, look. We've actually got illustrations in this one. I didn't realise. Look. And then, do you have any others? Oh, there's lots of illustrations actually. Oh, that's even better. That's very exciting. And I think, are the chapter headings in colours? Oh, there's some black and white drawings too. Interesting. And then the story titles are also illuminated around here. You have this beautiful, like, Islamic looking patterns and beautiful font. Oh, I think this is the prettiest one I own now. I absolutely love this book. It looks gorgeous. And the three of them together make for such an attractive shelf. Not that I have them on a shelf just yet. I just have them stacked up on a table, but I am in love. I love these editions. I want more of these. I don't know which other books they have that I would want, but anything I see that's beautiful, I am going to own. Hello! So, I am just about to start decorating my room with some of my autumn decorations. I've just filmed my October TBR video and I'm just really feeling in the autumn spirit. So it is the 30th of September, it's the last day of the month, it will be October's tomorrow and I'm very, very excited, so I'm going to prepare my room. I only have a few things at the moment, I may well buy more during this month. If I have a little visit to HomeSense or somewhere like that, then definitely there will be more additions to these decorations. But for now, we'll work with what we've got. I have a small room, I can't overwhelm it. So I do have a couple of things already that I have in my room all year round. You can see some of my fake candles behind me, which I always use. And I do also have, over there, you can see another candle and then some little starlights here and my beautiful moon mirror. They're all staying, as are the books that are on display. But I have a big windowsill here, which I'm going to use to cover with like an autumn display, and then I have a few other little bits here like on top of this box and by my bed and things that I might fit a few bits into as well. I also have, if I spin you around, gosh the lighting's dreadful, I have this lovely shelf here as well which has some of my special edition favourite books and a couple of other decorative bits like this lovely art print of a cauldron and things like that, which is very witchy, so I think that can stay, but I might sprinkle a few bits onto there too. So I will spin you back round again and take you through a couple of the little bits that I have as decorations. So the first thing you'll see are these beautiful autumn leaves, which are actually on fairy lights. They have tiny little lights at the bottom. I recently got these from Etsy and you just put batteries in them and then they will light up, or you can just leave them as a string of decorations. I love the different colour tones in these. They're really, really pretty. So these I plan to drape along that window ledge and kind of twirl around a few other bits and pieces that I want on there. These will give a real pop of autumn colour, I think. Next up I have some candles. This one actually isn't a candle anymore, this is just the empty jar. I had this a couple of years ago from HomeSense and was just in love with the scent, so I'm very, very sad that this ran out because I've never been able to find it anywhere else, but I just love the jar and the look of the label. So I could put another candle in the bottom, I could just have it as a jar for display, but either way it definitely fits the aesthetic, so I'll be using that one. And I have this brand new one by Yankee Candle, which is Tart Tatin. I don't speak French, sorry. I think it's apple tart, basically, from the picture. Smells absolutely gorgeous. So that one, again, I want to have probably with these leaves wrapped around it. I'm not sure. I have also ordered other candles, so there's more from Yankee Candle coming. And I want to try and order some of Becca's candles as well from Grace and Honey. If any of her autumn candles are left in stock, they will sound delicious. So I want to get my hands on some if I can. Next, I have these absolutely adorable little mushrooms, or toadstools, whatever you want to call them, with the beautiful red colour and the white spots. They're very iconic for autumn, so again, I think these standing among the leaves would look really cute. And then finally, I have these beautiful little trio of pumpkins. So these again do light up. You can put batteries in the bottom. Everything I have in my room seems to light up. I am a sucker for fairy lights. And I have silver, bronze and gold in those, so I don't know whether I'll have those all together or whether I'll scatter them across the room. We will see. So that's the kind of materials I'm working with right now. Let's see what I can come up with. So this is what I've come up with, very much subject to change, but we have my beautiful autumn leaves and the little toadstools. I'm going to put more pine cones on here. I have a tree with loads of pine cones in the garden, but it's raining at the moment, so I can't go and collect any more. I have a couple of candles at this end. Again, I may move these around as I get new candles. I also have this very cute little guy who I found in my candle box and I'd completely forgotten I had, so that's rather sweet. But you can see how beautiful these leaves look with the little lights. I really, really like them. And I decided to put this little book in the background as well because it seems quite appropriate next to poisonous mushrooms and a little bit witchy in theme as well. And then I've put my pumpkins around the room. So we have one on here next to my clock. I put one up here on my beautiful little favourite shelf. I haven't changed anything else on here, I just swapped out a little light here. But I think that goes quite nicely with the silver. And then the third one I put over here on top of this bookshelf. And I'm hoping that when it's dark outside and not horrendously backlit, this will actually make a really nice backdrop for video filming as well. Hello, so I feel like I filmed a lot of updates today, but I wanted to let you know I've just finished listening to the audiobook of Home Before Dark by Rayleigh Sager, and this was a really intriguing book. I was fascinated by this. I've not read really much in this genre before, sort of modern thriller type books. It was very much the kind of classic haunted house trope, and lots of very cliche moments and things within the story, you know, the classic ghost story themes, and someone going back to relive childhood memories and figure out were they real or were they just imagining things. But I really, really enjoyed it. It was something very different for me, and I liked reading something that actually felt quite spooky. I mean, it wasn't particularly scary, it wasn't horror, but it did have those spooky vibes to it, and it felt like a lovely transition book from September to October, this being the last day of September. So I would give this one, I think, probably 3 out of 5 stars. It was nothing sensational for me. It wasn't my favourite type of story, which is probably why it's a slightly lower rating, but I enjoyed it for what it was, and it did keep me captivated enough to keep reading. I liked the audiobook format, having the 2 narrators for the 2 voices of our main character Maggie, and then the story told by her father, which is more the kind of 25 years earlier section when Maggie was a child. And I just thought it was interesting. It was just something a bit different for me. I think if you probably read a lot from that genre, it's nothing exciting. I don't know. It might be one of the better ones, who knows? But for me, I would expect it to just be a fairly standard book in that genre. But an enjoyable read, and as I said, a lovely transition into spooky season reading. So that is all of my reads accomplished for this month, apart from the last little bit of Fellowship of the Ring, which I plan to read this evening. Later this evening. It's getting quite late already now, actually, but I'm just sat down in my living room for a change. I hardly ever film down here, but it's quite cosy, so I decided I would today. So yes, a few chapters of Fellowship of the Ring left to read this evening, and then I will be pretty much done with my September TBRs. Thank goodness, I've read so many books this month, but I have accomplished a large amount. So I will just briefly wrap this up. I have managed to read everything that was on my TBR from my TBR videos, apart from Master Artificer. Now, I started reading this one, and I'm listening to it on audiobook because I don't have the physical copy, but I think I would prefer this book an awful lot more reading it physically. It's the sort of book I know I would absolutely devour, but I just can't make myself sit and listen to a 30-hour audiobook when all I want is to have it in front of me. So I'm going to temporarily DNF this one and put this on hold until I can get hold of a physical copy. But I do definitely anticipate loving this, probably giving it 5 stars. So the fact that I did read about 100 pages of it means I'm not going to count Bookopoly as a fail, because I did start at least every book that was on the TBR. And I did also add 1 extra book onto my TBR for this month, which was The Mystery of Black Hollow Lane, just to fill the extra Magical Readathon prompt, which didn't work to double up with any of my Bookopolathon books. So I finished the month reading 12 books and starting a 13th, which I think is very, very good going for me. I'm very pleased with that accomplishment, especially because several of them were quite chunky fantasy books. So I'm going to count September as a success, and I'm really, really excited now to get onto my October TBR and all of my autumnal and spooky themed reads. It's going to be a great time of year. So without further ado, thank you very much for watching this video. Give me a like down below if you enjoyed it, chat to me in the comments about any of the books I've read, anything else you'd like to discuss with me, and please consider subscribing if you'd like to see more content from me. It really, really helps. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you very soon with another video. Bye for now!